So after studying different type of charts, such as a bar chart, such as a line chart, or even the combination, or we even studied ribbon chart and tree map. Today we are going to understand meaning of scatter chart and where it can be used. So for that, the data set that I am going to discuss is tips data set. Tips data set is a very simple data set where a restaurant owner stored information about total bill that its consumers had, what was the gender of person who was paying the bill, whether that person was a smoker or non-smoker, what was that day, what was that time, what was the size, like whether a couple was eating, four people were eating, what was that size. So this size can be considered as a number also, a discrete value. It can be considered as a categorical value also, that it was a couple, it was three people, it was four people. So that, and finally what is the tip amount that was given, right? So the simple purpose of this data set is to understand what are the different factors that are giving higher tip amounts, right? Who are those people, or what are the different conditions or situations when we are getting high tip amounts. So that is what we have to discuss here. And for that, we will open Power BI desktop, and in Power BI desktop we will simply load this data set. So uh, you can consider tip as a target field here, and you can see the effect of different variables on this field. Okay, but we are just studying scatter plot here. So, and I have separate videos for exploratory data analysis of restaurant tips that I will provide to you, but I have to explain you the meaning of scatter plot first and how can we use it. So first of all, we'll simply click on get data. It's a CSV file. We will click here and go to tips dataset, load the dataset, connect it. After connecting the file, we will be able to see it on our data pane, and all the columns and rows, headers, everything are properly aligned. And after that, we will simply load this. Okay, and now the data is there. Whenever you are trying to prepare a scatter plot, so because our topic today is scatter plot, whenever you are trying to prepare a scatter plot, first add a text button like what is our purpose, use of or when to use scatter plot. When and how to use a scatter plot is our topic of discussion today. So here we will just select the chart, align it to center, use font size 24, 28, whatever you want to use, make it bold. When and how to use in Power BI, or in general also, when can you use it. So we will select this 32, that's okay. Now what we can do, we can go to effects and enable shadow. In a scatter plot, basically we try to see relationship between two values. Okay, let's say there is voltage and current. We want to see relationship between a voltage and current. So we can put voltage on one axis and current on another. Okay, whenever we try to create a graph, so for example, let's say we have axis here. Okay, so let's say we have one y-axis and we have x-axis. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis. So when we want to see effect of x-axis on y-axis, we usually draw a line chart, right? Like what will this line tell you? That when x is increasing, y is also increasing at a linear rate. Okay, but what will this tell you if I show you graph like this? What will this tell you? That for different values of x, this is how y is behaving. Okay, so we can see initially there was an increase, but then there is drop. This is how parabola is there, right? That initially there is increase and then it goes on drop. So if it is like this, like here, if it is like this, so we can say that yes, when x is increasing, y is also increasing, but that increment is not necessarily in a straight line. Okay, when if it would have been in a straight line, it would have been like this, but points are slightly off track. They are not perfectly linear, but we can say. So in real cases, we mostly have data like this, right? Like when you will increase one variable, other variable will either increase or decrease with it, but this is what you have. So for example, if one point is this, one point is this, one point is this, one point is this, so you will say when x was lower, y was higher. When x's value is increasing, y's value is kind of decreasing. So this is how we can have different cases. So to understand the relationship between how x affects y, we create a scatter plot. Okay, because every time line chart will not be possible. So that's why in a scatter plot, here we have two numerical fields. One of them is tip and other one is total bill. So between tip and total bill, if we will create a graph, okay, just a minute. So we will put, what should we put on x-axis here? So on x-axis we usually put something that is independent, okay, that is our input or feature, and on y-axis we put something that is our output, that is our target. Okay, so now tell me what should we put on x-axis? See, which one of them is target field? We just discussed tip, so put that on y-axis, right? Which one of them is a number and input field? It's either size or total bill. Okay, so let's create two scatter points. ये तुम बताओ क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं रो से कोई मतलब है? That is just row. I told you every time, row is just like ID for each row. This will be used just to count something, right? Does this have any number value to it? Like, will you consider this one is higher in some way? This is just a serial number, you can ignore that, right? So here you put this, and let's say we put size on x-axis. Okay, so what will it is ultimately start doing? It will start showing you a single dot. Okay, why a single dot? Because whether it's Power BI, Tableau, whatever tool you are using, they summarize the data. So you will say I don't summarize. Okay, and here also you will say don't summarize. So now you will see that when total number of people who eat are 1, these are the number of cases. For 2, these are those bills, right? So you are seeing when there were 6 people, this is the highest amount of tip that we have got. Okay, what we can do, we can go to general tab in effects, we can enable shadow and border for this also, and we can simply go there and copy formatting. So, and here what we are going to do, here in x-axis we are going to include total bill. Okay, and actually in x-axis we are going to include total bill, and here we are going to say don't summarize, here also we are going to say don't summarize. Okay, so now what will you conclude from this? Like, what is your conclusion from the kahan straight line is not it is scattered, na? So the so what you are saying is correct, that it kind of gives us an indication that when total bill increases, tip amount also increases, right? But it is not in a perfectly linear way, right? It is not in a perfectly linear way, but for some cases, yes, we can see, and this is what we can tell from our regular observations also, that obviously when total bill is more, then only we pay more tip to the waiter, right? If bill will be less, tip will be less. But some some people may be generous, they may tip higher, right? For example, this person, for a $7 bill, tip was $5, right? So usually someone will not do that, but yes, this person gave it a tip. And now what you can do, so this is what scatter plots do, and in scatter plots you also see legend and size. Okay, so what we can bring as a legend here, as a legend we can bring some category. Let's say we want to see day as a legend. So when you will put day as a legend, you will start seeing a chart like this. Then you can highlight Thursdays. When you will highlight Thursdays, you will see most of the bills in Thursday, I'm talking about most of the bills, are in this range. On Sunday, it is scattered, so we have some bills in higher range. On Saturday, you can see we have more wider range, and even the highest bill is also in the highest bill, and highest tip is also on Saturday. And in Friday, we can see first we have fewer number of bills, and only one bill is in higher range, all other bills are in lower range. Okay, so this is what you can see. And if suppose you want to see effect of everything, so this kind of gives us an indication that yes, they has some kind of effect on bill. Okay, now what I will do, I will simply create a copy of it, and because I want to see effect of more variables also, so I will create a copy of it, put it here, and instead of day I will bring gender as a legend here. So I will bring gender as a legend, and when I will bring gender, so you can see here we cannot definitely say which one of them is giving more bills, because if you select female, data is distributed like this in case of male, but we can see whatever higher number of bills are there, okay, highest bills are there, are paid by male. Do you think that we can answer this kind of questions? If I ask you whether male or female, who has given highest bill, so you will be able to tell that, right? Yes or no? So these kind of questions can be answered by just drawing one graph, right? Some data information can be fetched with the help of these graphs, and that is the purpose. That's why we are learning all of this. Similarly, we can make another copy of it. So we can see, yes, to a small amount, to a small extent, but yes, males are paying more bill than female. Okay. Then what is another categorical field that we have? Whether that person is a smoker or not. So we can bring smoker here, and you can see those who are a smoker. Yes. So you can see usually they have lower bill amount. Obviously highest bill amount is by a smoker, but most of the cases are non-smoker. What is the reason that this restaurant owner is doing that? Because you would want to see that are we getting more customers on Friday, are we making more profit on Fridays or Saturdays, and suppose I have a staff of 10 people. So, and if I see that on Fridays we have less number of customers, so I will say on Friday I will have only 5 people staff. On Saturdays, when I will see that we have more customers coming, more bill, more profit is generated. So on this day we will have more number of people. Similarly on Thursday. So based on these type of assumptions. Next, in these restaurants there is a separate area for smokers and non-smokers. So what should be the size of that area? So let's say there are 10 tables for smokers and 20 tables for non-smokers. So if there are 10 tables for smokers, then we have to see the ratio also, right? Like how many smokers and non-smokers are there. So on the basis of that ratio, you will be able to see whether non-smokers are paying more bill, whether non-smokers are eating more, or smokers are eating more, and on the basis of that, you will decide your table size, etc., etc. Right? So this is what this simple exercise can do. This is a very useful data set, although a very small data set. If we had more number of samples here, we would have understood it in a better way. But still, with this much amount of information also, we can gather and we can actually create a lot of insights. Okay. Similarly, this is bill and tip. This is smoker. Instead of smokers, we can put time here, whether they are eating more in lunch time or in dinner time. Okay. So if I add time here, what is your answer? Like, are they eating more in lunch or in dinner? Right. So obviously from a scatter plot alone, we cannot, obviously we can assume that, but in order to conclude that, you have other type of charts also, right? In order to conclude that, let's say we add a donut chart here. I told you we use donut chart when we want to find out proportion of something. Okay, so let's say total bill is our area here. So in legend, if I add time, and in values, if I add total bill, so from here you will have a more conclusive evidence, right? That yes, in dinner we have total bill of 3660, which is 75% of the entire bill. And this chart tells us that they are proportional. So that's why we can also say yes, we will get tip also. And here in a scatter plot, I want to tell one more thing, that when you are creating a scatter plot, let me zoom it. So this is your format your visual, where you can go and change your marker. Okay. For example, if you want to change it to a diamond shape, you can do that. Okay. If you want to change it to this cross to minus, whatever you want to select, you can select like a square. Okay. Or let's say we want to display lunch with a square and dinner with a diamond. So you can do that as well. Okay. So you can select those kind of different markers, and for these markers that we have, we also have color. So for dinner, let's say we want to choose this color, okay, so you can do that as well. So this is what you can do. And one more thing, here we have category label off. We can enable category label on, and for every scatter point we can have that coordinate. You remember in calculus we used to put coordinates, right? This is x comma y, x comma y, x comma y. So if you want, you can do that. Next thing is, there is this add further analysis thing. So here you can go and enable a trend line. Remember I created one line, if you remember, right? So when I created that line, I told you that even though the points are not in perfectly linear way, but we can still create an aggregate line that represents the relationship between total bill and total tip on the basis of different values that are there. This is called line of best fit or regression line, which we are going to study later, and this is something that we will use. So if you want to add some kind of constant line, let's say on x-axis I want to add a line, okay, and that line is now created here. I want to see what is average of total bill, what is average of total tip, okay. So what can I do? I can edit this, okay, or I can add a line, and that line can have a value. I can change that value from here. So what field should be based it on? It should be based on total bill, okay. What will I select? Average. Now you will see this line. This line is representing average total bill, and I am giving it a color of this, okay. Similarly, I can add a y-axis constant line. I will add a line here, and this line will have a value of average tip. So I will just go here and select tip and select average here. Click OK. So now you can see we now have 4 segments. In this segment we have all the tips and bills for lunch that are less than average total bill and tip. Here it is over, both of them are over that. In this segment we have total bill less than average but tip higher than average, and in this segment we have total bill higher than average but total bill lower than average. So there can be 4 cases, right? So this way we can create these average lines and try to understand how the data is distributed, how different type of cases are there, okay. And if you want, you can try to copy and apply it here. Maybe it will not be applied because we have to separately apply those scatter lines from here. So this will be your task. Add these average lines, okay, in these charts, and that's why it is very important to use this scatter plot, okay. And we will cover more examples where we are going to use scatter plot, where we are going to understand the meaning of these lines in a better way. Like, yes, we have added lines, yes, it is good to have these lines, but what is the better usage? Like, how can we explain it in a better way, right? How can we use it to analyze something is something that we can do there. And finally, like when we are creating this, so whatever categorical fields you have, like we have done with smoker, day, we have done with gender, okay, we have done with time, and you can do it with size also. So size is something that you can use either as a number, I told you, and size is something that you can use as a legend also. But for size, we already have size. So when you will do this, it will kind of create this kind of heat map for you, where you can see when we have different size here, like size 6 represents a bigger circle. There will be cases with smaller circles that are smaller numbers. So this is actually the data set where we can use all the fields of a scatter plot. But you can also introduce size as a value, sorry, as a legend, and there you can see that all the higher bills are there. Most of the higher bills are there when we have four people. When we have single person, you can see all bills are lower. For two people, bills are in this range. Three people, bills are in this range. So you can have that. So it was a simple chapter based on usage of a scatter plot. Okay, what we can do, we can now try everything, and after trying everything you can just uh, create this, and whenever some other important stuff will come you can do that. For example, here this is the financial data set that we studied earlier. So we have sales and profit, and we want to know that if sales is increasing, what kind of effects does it have on our profit. So what we can do, we can put sales here. Okay, so we can simply add sales here as on x-axis, that when sales will increase, what are the factors that will affect our profit. We'll put profit here and say don't summarize, and here also say don't summarize. So now you can see that in some cases, you can see in some cases you have profit in negative, right? Do you get this point? In some cases you have profit in negative. What does that mean? That these are the cases where we have loss. But usually you will see when sales is increasing, profit is also increasing. And as a legend, we can put segment here. So you will be able to see for which segment do we have profit. You can see in case of channel partners, okay, or enterprises, sorry. In case of enterprises, we have more loss. For government sector, we never had loss, right? We have all profit, and that is very linear also. In mid market, it is very small. For small businesses also, we have actually the profit sales ratio is there, not that much that is there in government sector, but yes, we can see that when sales are increasing, profit is increasing. But in case of channel partners and enterprises, we have loss. So this is also a usage of scatter plot in financial data. This is usage of scatter plot in a tips analysis data. Okay, so this is what you can learn. So in next chapter we will come up with more type of charts. We will come up with more examples. Keep learning and keep practicing. Whenever you have questions, you can ask them in the comment section. Okay.